President Park Geun-hye will hold a summit with Chinese President Xi Jinping next month, but no progress on a South Korea-Japan bilateral meeting. More finger-pointing in the aftermath of a deadly tragedy at a concert in Seongnam City. The controversy has uncovered troubling revelations. And hip-hop group APEC has soared to the top of the Korean music charts with the release of its new album. Hello and welcome to News Today on KBS World. It's Wednesday, October 22nd. I'm Luke Clary. Now we begin today with reports that President Park Geun-hye will hold a meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the APEC summit in Beijing next month. Meanwhile, a Japanese diplomatic envoy visited the presidential office in Seoul to propose bilateral summit talks, but prospects of South Korea and Japan's leaders meeting one-on-one remain unclear.
Director of Japan's National Security Council Shotaro Yachi, serving as diplomatic envoy of Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, made a visit to his Korean counterpart, National Security Adviser Kim Kwan-jin. Yachi said Korea and Japan share a strategic interest together and proposed efforts to improve bilateral relations on occasion of next year, which marks the 50th year since diplomatic ties were normalized. He also proposed holding a bilateral summit. In response, Kim stressed the importance of Tokyo's genuine efforts and pointed out that resolving the wartime sex slavery issue is of primary concern. Seoul has again clarified that real progress must be made regarding the sex slavery issue before summit talks can be held. At a similar time to the Japanese envoy's visit, former Chinese State Councilor Tang, who served under former President Hu Jintao, also paid a courtesy call on President Park Geun-hye.
我们在首尔或者在北京见过7次，这次是第7次。
이렇게 한중 관계 발전을 위해서 이렇게 참 활발하게 활동하고 계신 게 참 저한테는 인상적입니다.
Tang, serving in the role of special envoy to President Xi Jinping, also unveiled the fact that the two sides will hold a summit meeting next month. Tang and Park are also believed to have held in-depth talks on recent inter-Korean relations.
Here at home, the presidential office has pledged to process the public pension reform bill, a contentious issue among public officials, within the year. The head of the ruling party says that processing the bill by the end of this year is unfeasible, however, raising the specter of yet another clash between the party and the government. Under the government's public pension reform bill, public officials will have to pay up to 41% more in their pension contributions, but receive 34% less after they retire. In the face of growing opposition from public servants, pro-Park Geun-hye politician and Security Party floor leader Lee Wan-gu promised to process the bill within the year.
연말 이 공무원연금 처리를 원칙으로 해서 야당과 협의를 즉시 논의할 수 있도록 그렇게 하겠다는 말씀드립니다.
Sources say Presidential Chief of Staff Kim Ki-chun, speaking at a meeting between the ruling party and the government on October 19th, also vowed to process the public pension reform bill by the end of 2014 to dispel any doubts about the government's determination to implement reforms. However, Security Party Chairman Kim Moo-sung says processing the bill within the year is unfeasible because the public should be notified about it first through an open debate. The ruling party leader's remarks demonstrate his disagreement with the government's plan and could lead to yet another conflict between the presidential office and the party. The opposition party also agreed that processing the pension reform bill within the year is unrealistic, even though it does acknowledge the necessity of the reform.
국민적 공감대가 형성이 된 연후에 처리해야 되기 때문에 저는 연내 처리가 쉽지 않다고 보고 있습니다.
Both the ruling and opposition parties have agreed to set up a special committee in the National Assembly to oversee public safety in the wake of a series of accidents in the nation, such as the collapse of a ventilation grate in the Seoul suburb of Kangyo. Later this month, the parties will also reconfirm 3 bills on coping with the Seoul ferry disaster. They begin negotiations today on the special law to investigate the cause of the ferry sinking. More finger-pointing in the aftermath of a deadly tragedy at a concert in Seongnam City that left 16 dead and 11 injured. The controversy has uncovered troubling revelations.
At this posh restaurant in Seongnam City's Bundang district, Seongnam Mayor Lee Jae-myung and the president of the internet-based business newspaper E-Daily, Kwak Jae-sun, met last January. Seongnam City revealed that during this meeting, the E-Daily president asked the mayor for the city to provide a site for culture and arts projects. When the mayor turned it down, E-Daily then requested close to $30,000 in sponsorship aid for the Pangyo Techno Valley Festival. They made the request while sending a planned proposal of the event to the city of Seongnam as it was a hosting party of the festival. City official revealed that Seongnam struck a compromise with the newspaper by providing about $10,000 to cover advertisement costs.
이데일리 측에서는 몇 차례 특혜성 요구를 해왔지만 성남시는 이에 공식적으로 응하지는 않았습니다.
And uncovered documents show that E-Daily made a similar sponsorship request to Gyeonggi Province as well.
경기도가 주최를 하게 되면 저희가 사업 계획을 수립을 하죠. 저희는 그런 사업을 계획한 적이 없습니다.
But the newspaper contends it held sufficient talks with Seongnam City and Gyeonggi Province over the issue of hosting the event. Based on the circumstantial evidence revealed so far, the police say that it's difficult to determine what party actually played host to the festival. 27 people were killed or injured at the event site due to an incident regarding safety, but no party has yet come out to admit their role in hosting the event. It seems this task will inevitably lie with the police.
It's been a week since the second trial verdict ruled that one of the questions on world geography in last year's all-important scholastic aptitude test had no right answer. But test takers and parents dismay as authorities have so far done nothing to fix the problem.
The eighth question in the world geography section of the Scholastic Aptitude Test of 2013 became a problematic issue because of its confusing potential answers. Unlike the first trial, the second trial ruled that the question had no right answer among the presented choices. In other words, the question itself was wrong. Now it's up to the educational authorities whether to have the Supreme Court issue its verdict or to modify students' grades in line with the outcome of the second trial. It's been a week since the second trial verdict was announced, but the students who failed to get into college because of the wrong question have yet to receive an answer from the educational authorities. The authorities are still deliberating whether to appeal to the Supreme Court.
깊이 고민하고 다각도로 검토하고 있다라고.
Some say that making a quick decision is made difficult because this year's SAT is less than a month away. Some 18,000 students whose answers for question 8 in world geography were considered wrong in last year's SAT had no choice but to submit their wrong results to colleges 10 months ago. 22 of them participated in the lawsuits and are awaiting the result. If the case is referred to the Supreme Court, 2 years will have passed since the exam. The Ministry of Education and the Korea Institute for Curriculum Evaluation say they will finalize their decision before the deadline on November 5th.
As legal cases flood into the nation's top Supreme Court, the workload comes out to about 3,000 cases per Supreme Court justice per year. Now, this is clearly unrealistic, so the court has proposed reforming the appeal system among other ways to rectify the situation.
It's been 5 years since former Ssangyong Motor employees filed a lawsuit demanding that their company's decision to lay them off is deemed invalid. The case eventually made it all the way to the Supreme Court this March, but there's no knowing when the case will be settled.
재판이 늦춰질 만큼 아픈 세월이 그만큼 불어난다. 이제 그만하고 싶다. 법원의 판결을 거듭 촉구한다.
The number of long-term cases that have been left unsettled for over 4 months in the Supreme Court stood at some 2,000 as of last year. That's double the figure from 5 years ago. Here at the Supreme Court office, where cases referred from lower courts are categorized, officers have not a minute to lose as they tackle heaps of trial papers stacked in front of them. Appeals cases filed with the Supreme Court number an average 36,000 each year. This leaves one Supreme Court justice having to process 3,000 cases each year. In other words, that's 8 cases daily without a single day of rest.
이제는 감당하기 어려울 정도로 많아져서 한계를 넘어선 것이 현실입니다.
In light of the situation, the top court has proposed as a solution opening a separate appeals court in Seoul. With this two-way approach, the appeals court would handle general cases, such as those involving petty fines, leaving the Supreme Court to deal with the more important cases, such as those regarding workers' wages. But this is not without opposition. Critics say that the measure would restrict the right for anyone to be tried at the nation's highest court. Other alternative solutions include restructuring the Supreme Court into a dual system or installing an appeals department at the high court level.
3 bear cubs have been released to Mount Jiri after being rehabilitated to the wild with training to avoid humans and find food on their own. This brings the total to 34 Asian black bears living on the mountain.
As soon as their cages are opened, the Asian black bear cubs run away and into the woods. Of the 3 cubs released to the wild, 2 were found along with their mother in a shelter on Mount Jiri back in July as they were looking for food. The 3rd cub was abandoned by its mother back in January. The cubs received special training before their release. First, they were taught how to avoid humans. This was done by blowing whistles and making noise with wooden sticks to scare off the bears and keep them away from people. Next, they were taught how to climb trees, an essential skill for their survival, as the cubs will have to live in the wild without their mothers.
국내에서는 최초로 양육을 통해서 재활 훈련을 거치고 자연에 방사하는 개체들입니다.
With the release of the 3 cubs, the total number of Asian black bears on Mount Jiri has increased to 34. The Korea National Park Service plans to create natural habitats for bears on Seorak and Ode Mountains as well after 2020.
Opera is considered to be more difficult to understand than more popular genres like musicals, but nowadays opera has adopted some of the more visually pleasing methods from musical productions to make them more entertaining.
The huge stage rotates and faces the audience. Ear-splitting thunderclaps draw the people's attention, along with the flashy effects often seen in musicals. The production has kept intact the opera's beautiful arias, vibrant chorus, and majestic orchestral scores, while its special effects and wardrobe are overseen by a musical director.
그림으로 쉽게 좀 다가올 수 있게 물리적으로 또 시각적으로 또 청각적으로 한 번에 장면들을 이해하고 가슴으로 받아들일 수 있게 좀 많이 만들었습니다.
And just like in musicals, the lyrics were changed to Korean to better suit the opera goers. An established opera singer who's worked the stages in Europe even took lessons from a musical actor to shore up her acting skills.
저희가 소리를 더 중요시하다 보니까 연기적인 부분을 많이 잊어버린 게 있는데 지금 같이 하시는 배우분들한테 많이 배우고 있고요.
In the past, it may have been somewhat difficult for people to approach operas with their classical singing and orchestral music, but now operas, having learned something from musical productions, have made themselves easier to understand, better appealing to audiences.
Hip-hop group APEC has soared to the top of the Korean music charts with the release of its new album. This and more coming up on today's Showbiz News.
Hip-hop group APEC has been in the spotlight recently following the release of Shoebox, their first regular album in 2 years. The title track, Happen Ending, placed first on 8 music charts in Korea on the day of its release, October 21st. The album also topped the iTunes album charts in 7 countries, including Hong Kong, Indonesia, and Vietnam.
또 군사들을 휘몰아 달려가실 겁니까? 그래서 어머니처럼!
Actor Lee Joon-gi's followers on Weibo, a microblogging site in China, have reached more than 15 million in number. Lee's agency said that his latest TV series, Gunman in Joseon, was viewed more than 400 million times on a Chinese video streaming site, and the number of his fans has grown tremendously. Lee plans to go on an Asian tour in China and Japan next month to further boost his popularity as a Hallyu star. Male duo TVXQ is to embark on a world tour in December starting in Seoul. The The group's agency reported that the world tour will be a special one as it is part of the 10th anniversary celebration of their debut. TVXQ garnered great reviews for their last world tour in 2011, which included concerts in the United States, China, and Japan.
Many women complain about their thighs and hips, and naturally, women are more likely to store excess weight in these areas. So here are some tips on how to keep your lower body slim and trim. Different people have different body types, especially when it comes to the thighs and hips. Some people have big thighs and hips due to stores of fat and cellulite. They may be overweight in general, so their lower bodies have become lumpy. Consumption of high-calorie foods and a reluctance to exercise sufficiently can lead to this situation. So how can they lose weight?
전신 운동, 특히 유산소 운동을 통해서 전체적으로 살을 뺐을 때 하체 비만에도 효과적입니다. 빨리 걷기, 수영, 자전거 타기가 있으며 가장 효과적인 운동법은 유산소 운동을 30분에서 40분 정도, 근력 운동을 10분 정도 같이 병행했을 때 하체 비만에 가장 좋은 효과가 나타납니다.
In another case, people can have a thick lower body that's swollen from their life habits. They see their lower body swollen because they remain seated and rarely move their legs for a long time in their offices. Conversely, legs can easily swell when people work on their feet all day long. Dietary habits are also a big factor. Your lower body can swell if you frequently eat salty or instant foods. What is the solution to ease the swelling in legs and calves? It's good to put a pillow under your calves and raise your legs high. Massaging can promote blood circulation and helps ease the swell. Some people have calves that are thick with muscles. Even if you lose weight, your legs can remain thick because of the muscles. They're muscular thighs and calves.
근육형 하체 비만의 경우에는 상대적으로 다른 비만의 유형에 비해서 유전적인 소인이 이제 강하게 나타나는 편입니다. 그래서 어떤 골격 구조라든지 본인의 체형을 유지하기 위해서 발달된 경우가 훨씬 더 많습니다.
Exercising is not effective for the muscular type. Some medical help can bring tangible changes to muscular legs. Electrofulguration can help reduce the size of unnecessary muscles and fat. Botox injections are also effective in making legs thin by paralyzing muscle activity in calves. But the effects are temporary, lasting about 6 months. Ballet might be the best remedy for all types of lumpy legs. A ballet position called the arabesque is the best workout exercise for the lower body. Stand on one leg with the other leg turned out and extended behind the body. But both legs must be held straight.
이 아라베스크 동작을 최대한 올라와서 5초간 정도 버티시고 다시 내려왔다가 한 번 더, 둘, 올라오시고. 자, 이렇게 해서 반복적인 것을 10세트 정도 해주시면 힙업의 효과와 함께 다리 뒤쪽에 셀룰라이트라는 지방을 연소시키는데 굉장히 도움이 많이 되고 있습니다.
It's not easy to rid your legs of fat and unnecessary muscles. Hopefully, some of the solutions outlined today will help relieve lower body issues. Now we'll take a look at the markets, followed by the world weather. And that's it for this edition of News Today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again at the same time tomorrow. Goodbye.